All right, everybody, welcome to another video of mine. Thank you for following along. I hope you're subscribing. Now, today I'm going to talk about foreclosure and what the options are when you're facing foreclosure. Now, there's several options you can actually consider, and I'm going to go through all of them because it's the only way to get an understanding. You might have to sometimes use a combination of the different options that you have available to you, and we'll figure out how that applies. So the first thing you can do is do nothing. Let it go into foreclosure. The problem is, and you have to figure out what state that is, you might have what they call deficiency judgment. You can see that right here. What's a deficiency judgment? Very simple. You owe 300,000 on your house. It's sold at foreclosure for 200. There's $100,000 left over. That money doesn't disappear. Why? Because remember, you signed a contract with the lender saying you're going to pay back 300,000, and you didn't. You only paid back 200,000 through the foreclosure auction. So when that happens, there are some states that are going to require that you have to pay back that $100,000. They send a 1099 to the IRS. How debt has become income. I've said this before. I have no idea. Just leave it up to the people in Washington and passing those laws in Congress that it makes no sense that somehow I owe $100,000 and you're going to add that as to my income. The good news is an accountant should be able to take care of it, so it shouldn't be a good deal. A big deal that you have to come up with another $100,000 based on income that does not exist. So don't stress that. Now, the other option is you could just refinance. You can refinance your mortgage during a foreclosure. There's no law that says there's not. Of course, what's the issue? If you have no equity, you can forget about it. But if there's substantial equity in your property, then the lender is willing to do it. Why not? The lender's going to lose money selling your house. Remember, lenders are not in the business of selling homes. That's what real estate brokers are for. Lenders, banks, mortgages, they're in the business of loaning you money. So if they can get that same amount of money that you owe and just refinance, catch up on the arrears and stretch it out, they make more money. Now, it does cost you more money because remember, if you had 15 years left on your mortgage and now you've added another 5 or 10 years, that's another 5 or 10 years of interest that you're paying. But you avoided foreclosure, which is the important part in what we're trying to do here. Now, the other option is you could just try to get new mortgage terms. Is there a rule that says you can't? No. Of course, this is dependent, again, based on your equity, maybe based on your financial situation. Let's say you lost your job for 6 months and then now you got a new job and you're able to pay this back. Maybe the lender would say, you know what, we'll add the 6 months of what you didn't pay to the end of the mortgage. We'll give you a break. They'll try to work out some sort of a payment plan. Again, they're not required. There's no law that says they have to, they're obligated to negotiate with you, but there's also no law that says they can't renegotiate the terms of the mortgage. That's different from a refinance. Remember, refinance, you're wiping out the original mortgage and you're coming out with a new mortgage. This is more just, negotiate the terms. Typically, what you fell behind, they're willing to add it to the back. Why do they do that? They learned their lesson like everybody else during the mortgage foreclosure crisis that let's try to negotiate and let's not be so aggressive in foreclosing because, again, banks are not in the business of selling homes. They're in the business of loaning you money so they can make money off the interest. Now, deed of lieu and foreclosure, that's an interesting one. You don't see it so much these days. During the mortgage foreclosure crisis, it became very common because there was just so many homes that were in foreclosure and it was taking so long to get rid of these cases. It was just easier to cut you a check and say, get out of the house. You have 30 days, make sure the house looks presentable. Why? Because people were taking a hammer, bam, 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 destroying the walls, destroying everything. I've heard stories of people pouring bags of concrete down the toilet. I just there's so many stories that I've heard that are just horror stories. But with the deal in lieu of foreclosure, that's part of the condition. You're not going to destroy the house. The house is going to look good. You're gonna clean it up. You're going to they might tell you take out all the furniture as well. It just depends whatever you negotiate. But I can tell you, someone that I worked with at the courthouse, the last deed in lieu of foreclosure I did, because this is when I was taking cases down in Miami, I was able to get him $10,000. So he got $10,000 that he used to move out. So someone in foreclosure doesn't have money to pay back, obviously, the mortgage. They're going to need a new place. They're going to need a security deposit, first, last, and security. That $10,000 is going to help a lot. Now, the other option is bankruptcy. Now, how bankruptcy applies, there's a couple of choices here, and which one really depends where you are along the process, and it also just depends basically what your options are. So, let's go over the different options here. The first thing you need to understand, when you file for bankruptcy, they have what they call the automatic stay. It's automatic, it's right there. You don't have to do anything. Automatically, your bankruptcy case will stop most lawsuits. It's not forever, because nothing lasts forever, not even Chapter 13, even though you feel that way. But if you're in Chapter 13 and you're paying back the arrears, well, the automatic stay would apply for the next 3 to 5 years. It even applies to co-signers and co-borrowers, whether we're talking credit cards or anything else. Maybe you have a friend or family member that you co-signed for, and then when they go into bankruptcy, the creditor can't pursue you. So the automatic stay is obviously a powerful tool to prevent creditors from moving forward against you. Now, how are we going to use it with Chapter 7? Well, the first thing you have to understand with Chapter 7 is that Chapter 7 doesn't stop foreclosure forever. As a matter of fact, Chapter 7 is not even an option to save your home. That's Chapter 13. So, how are we going to use Chapter 7? Well, again, depends. What if you already have a buyer, but the foreclosure is next week? What process you're going to go through to stop this? Chances are the bank cannot communicate on time and have the lawyer representing the bank file a motion with the court, and the court stop the foreclosure, and all this that has to go on. There's a lot of moving parts to this. So if that cannot happen on time, well, if you file Chapter 7, the automatic stay kicks in. Now, here's the catch. If your house is in foreclosure, and you file for bankruptcy, the new buyer can't come in until the bankruptcy is over. So how do you end this bankruptcy that you really don't want to do, and all you want to do was buy yourself some time? Very simple. You'll have the 341 meeting, right? The 341 meeting of creditors. That's the initial meeting that you go to in a chapter. So you do it in both chapters, but it's just a quick, rundown to go over the bankruptcy petition with you. That's all it is. And what you do is you just don't go. There's no jurisdiction once the case gets dismissed. And so that's the common tactic. You have the 341 meeting, it gets scheduled 30, 40 days later. That's more than enough time to get organized with the buyer. You just let the case get dismissed. So, for example, the hearing is, I'll make up today's 5/23. If today is going to be the hearing date, that's a month in advance. So you can tell the bank, we're going to dismiss the case, but be ready to do the closing, within the next few days of that. So Chapter 7 bankruptcy will help you slow down the whole process. So keep that in mind. Now, with Chapter 13, it is one way to save your home. You're going to pay back those arrears. If you pay $1,000 a month as your mortgage and now you're 10 months behind, well, that 10K gets spread out during this time period, and that'll help you save your home. But you don't want to save your home, right? We're talking about maybe trying to just delay it. Well, if you're putting your house up on the market, that's different than the Chapter 7 that I was talking about. Chapter 7, we already had someone over here that was willing to buy your property. Chapter 13, we don't have anybody, but we know the house can sell. We know we can make a few dollars off of this. So then Chapter 13 will work. Because think about it, doesn't it's the next 36 to 60 months you are dealing with Chapter 13. So if that's the case, you have 1 year, 2 years, as long as you can afford to pay back the bankruptcy plan. And by the way, you get your money back, right? Because all those arrears are being reduced, and because they're being reduced, when it comes time to the closing, you'll get more money back. But Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, either one will be good enough to save your home if you're facing foreclosure. And again, you have the other options as well. You have the option to refinance. You have the deed in lieu of foreclosure. If you just want to walk away, you can even try to negotiate the different terms. All right. So if you have any questions on this issue, always feel free to reach out to me. You can put comments down below, and I will respond to you personally. If you have a question that you want to include in the Reader's Question Forum, that's one section that I have just devoted to readers who have sent me questions, and then I reply to it in a blog post format, and then I do a video as well. So feel free to send me an email, and we can talk about it. Don't worry about your privacy. I'm not going to reveal any information about you. And we'll just talk via email. That's all. It'll be fine that way. Of course, for the paralegals and the legal studies students that are using my textbook, Go to the blog, use that information, get you a better understanding of Chapter 7, Chapter 13, the exemptions and the different options. So when you are a paralegal and you're consulting, or you're not consulting, technically that's the lawyer, but when you're interviewing a client, you can always explain the process, how bankruptcy works. You just can't give legal advice, don't do that. But you will be able to explain, these are your options, a deed in lieu of foreclosure. And then when you go to the attorney, say maybe this person qualifies for a deed in lieu. Maybe we're going to file Chapter 7, Chapter 13, whatever it might be. And of course, if you want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. I'm on social media. And here I am again on my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me today on the YouTube channel. And of course, subscribe. Subscribe and leave comments if you have any comments for me as well. All right. So take care, everybody. I'll probably have another video out by tomorrow, and continue checking out my blog. I keep continuously posting new blog posts just about every single day. And if you have any questions, if there's a blog post there that you don't see and it's an issue that you're concerned about, now you know how to reach me. All right. Take care, everyone. Be safe. The weekend is almost here. It is 5:23, so one more day. So have a good weekend. Memorial weekend is coming up, so be safe. Bye bye.